Hi everyone, Sandra Vail here at Homesteading Ways. And today I'm just going to be going over the meat birds that Paul and I are choosing to raise this year on our homestead. Many of you will know that we've raised a lot of birds in the past. In fact, we raised hundreds of quail at one point in time. But we're not looking to go down that path again. But we do want to be able to provide ourselves with some kind of meat. And we may in the long run get rabbits too, but I'm not really sure yet. Now, one of the things with us raising meat birds is that I have to make sure I don't get attached to any of them. It's very difficult to eat what you consider your pet. So yeah, that's a thought there. I mean, if you've never done it before, if you've never raised animals that you've eaten or that you want to eat, you know, you just got to get that thought in your head that this is food and they are not your pets. And after a while, you'll get used to it. Just don't spend too much time with them. That's the best advice that I can give you. But anyhow, the first one I was looking at was chickens. Were chickens. We've raised all kinds of different breeds of chickens, and I love my chickens. Those are my most favorite animals. Well, I really do love raising goats too, but they're a lot more work than chickens are. At least I feel they are. But usually we raised most of our chickens for eggs, and we're not going to be doing that this year. We thought about it, we went over it in our heads, and it just wouldn't pay for us to raise our own layers. One, it being that we can't let them free range. There's just too many predators, and we end up feeding them the entire time when we do have nearby farmers that we can get good eggs from at a decent price. So we're just not going to raise layers this year. It may change in the future, you never know, but this year we're just doing the meat. And in the past when we raised meat chickens, we've pretty much done the Cornish cross. And I'm sure pretty much all of you are familiar with them. There are drawbacks to raising them, but for me, I didn't mind raising them in the way of they'll never be my pets. We're back to that again. But, you know, they grow fast, really fast, in a short amount of time. And so the amount you feed them for the time you're raising them, price-wise, it works out really well. Because most of the time with the Cornish, you're going to process them between 6 and 8 weeks. The longer you raise any kind of bird or animal, I feel, for meat, the longer, you know, it lives. Say a chicken, 10 weeks, 15 weeks, as opposed to 8 weeks. The meat is often, people will say it's tastier, but it's also more tough. And so you, of course, can still use it. You're just going to want to cook it longer, and it's just going to be a little more intensive that way, and you will spend more money on feed unless, you know, they do free range. So I was looking at a new breed. Well, it's not a new breed, new to me breed, which is the dark Cornish. So I'm doing a little bit of investigating on that, and hopefully those are what we'll be raising this go around for meat chickens. I wanted to look into heritage breeds, but the more I looked at them, the more I really don't think they would work for us. And not just because they don't get that big, because it's just Paul and I now, so I don't need to have giant chickens. We're just feeding the two of us. But their strong suit is that they do love free ranging, and you know, you don't have to feed them a lot, and I'm not going to be able to do that. But to get them up to decent size, you do have to raise them longer than you would, say, a Cornish cross. And part of the problem with us not wanting to raise any animals for a long amount of time is we leave here to go visit the kids and stuff like that very frequently. And so we would have to have someone else come and take care of them while we're gone. And I just don't see that as working out right now. We're still fairly new to the area and really don't know a lot of people. And we're not sure who we can trust. So right now we're looking at raising all these birds pretty much around the same time and limiting how much overnight travel we'll do. So when you're looking into chickens, you have a lot of questions to ask yourself. You know, what are you raising them for? Do you want dual purpose? Do you want meat? Do you want layers? You know, what part of the country are you in? Does it get really hot? Does it get really cold? Do you want a broody chicken, or do you not want broodiness in your chickens? There's a lot to look into, and so you're going to want to research that a bit. But the next bird we're looking at getting is ducks. We've had ducks in the past. I love raising ducks. They're comical to me, you know. I mean, chickens are comical too, but I loved raising the ducks. They just seemed, you know, kind of gentle in a way, and I just loved watching them. But they, to me, are, you do have to protect them a lot more, I feel, than even the chickens when it comes to predators. So there's no way we're letting them free range either. And in fact, we're looking at getting Muscovy. Now there's two main ducks that people will use for meat, and that's the Pekin and the Muscovy. The Pekin, I think, is used 90% of the time in commercial duck meat. It's a very popular duck, grows really fast, has yellow skin, and it's just a good duck. But the Muscovy technically isn't even a duck. It's a different species. But I'm not really sure what that species is. Just looks kind of like a goofy duck. But anyhow, the Muscovy grow quickly too, and it has very lean meat. It's not as fatty as most duck, and it does have a big breast on it. So those, that's the duck or duck-like bird we plan on raising. I'm not sure how many we're going to do. I remember when I was a kid, my stepdad loved to hunt, and so we ate whatever, you know, he got. And I remember thinking that duck wasn't bad, but I actually preferred the goose. But goose was greasier. And so it's been so long since I've had duck, I just, you know, don't eat it very often. So I'm really curious to see what this Muscovy is going to be like. And so in some future video, I'll let you know how the Muscovy turned out. And then the last thing I was researching, but not a lot, because Paul knows a lot about this, a lot more than I do. So really all I have to do is wait till he comes home and he can tell me some more, is we're going to be raising chucker partridge. Now the little I know about them is they're bigger than quail, and they're actually part of the pheasant family. They have a mild taste, and they too are on the lean side, so that's good. I don't know a whole lot about raising them. I do know that they don't need to grow for a long amount of time. So I think it's comparable to the ducks and the chickens. And that is what we will be raising this year. There will be more videos to come, and we'll get a little bit more into the birds as we get them, and we can show you a little bit how we raise them and how we process them and stuff like that. But it's important, if you can, to raise some of your own food, and besides a garden, that also means meat if you are a meat eater. Everybody's requirements will be different. You know, if you're in a city or a small town, or you live in rural, or how much land you have, or predators. I mean, there's a lot to think about, but it is really doable. It's a process, but you can do it. There's people all over the country, all over the world, raising, you know, their own poultry so that they have fresh food at home, that they knew how it was raised. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please thumbs up it. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber yet. That would be really cool of you to do. Check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and the links are always down in the description. And I'll even put a couple of links down there for you to check out on these different breeds of birds. It was nice talking to you, and you take care.